The insects are incredibly busy today. I think it's a sap on the sycamore. As I said, sycamores are brilliant because they're not ash at the moment, and ash is... Let's see if you can pull that one into the shot. Nope, I'm useless at that. Let's see if you can see it that way. Those are the ash in between the sycamores. And they're gone. And in here somewhere, possibly is E.T. sheltering, and must be sweltering in there. She's got her... She'll be wearing her fur coat. And she's slow, and I don't blame her, just moving around. She ate better today than yesterday than today. But today, temperature here on paper is 38. But I suspect with humidity and everything, it's 40. And I've told you before that I was desperate for sunshine so that I could... Here we go. I was desperate for sunshine so that I could go and sunbathe. And I managed it. It's very childish, I suppose, just this need to lie in the sun. And I'm not very good at wasting time. I was talking with a friend yesterday and she said sitting there doing nothing, trying to get colour is strange. And it feels like a desperate waste of time. You want to get up and do something. So what I've been doing while I've been lying there in hot temperatures, only for 20 minutes one side, 20 minutes the other. And today it's 15 one, 15 the other. And through all of this, my face continues to melt. Look at this. Growth is astonishing. Everywhere. You know, British complain that it's too hot, we can't cope with extreme weather of any sort. We're born to live in this environment, and look at the lushness, which means that we're appropriate for it. My mum, a picture of my mum in black and white when she was about 80 years old, and you can smell the dry heat of harvest coming off this image. It is superb. It's black and white, and it's, I don't know, how my mum's story to add to it. Anyway, so being sunbathing, that was a major demand. I set myself and of nature. Monday, everybody else sweltering. It rained here, but only for a short period of time, and we got over that. Second is, I want to speak about trans-dimensional spiders. This is just an aside. I've got a friend who is convinced that if you were to strike a spider to brush it away, that it disappears. Occasionally you may hear a thud against the wall, but generally it disappears. That's broom. Flowers are gone, and this is more ferns. Susan Venation. You know. Anyway, looks better than I do. Yeah. I don't know if you've had a squeal. Big spiders is about 2 foot. Where are we? It's a 2 foot large spider. I saw it the other day and it reminded me of something in the past. A friend said that you're lying in bed and you can hear the spider and it drops, and invariably it drops on the pillow next to you, and she's cool. I squeal. And she says that if you brush it quickly aside, it disappears. It goes into another dimension. Interesting theory. I'm convinced that they are so unstable as entities in this dimension. And remember, mathematicians, scientists tell us that there are actually 11 dimensions. I can manage 4, which is X, Y and Z, plus time on a graph. Anything beyond that I can't imagine. It could be flat, it could be 2-dimensional, it could be big, it could be small. I wonder if scientists can actually give you a description other than prove it exists. Anyway, so adding my basic knowledge of physics and acceleration to that, I've concluded that what happens, I've done it myself, what happens is that the spider is unstable. The big ones, the 2 foot wide ones, they're unstable in this dimension, so if you just flick them, they accelerate, and by accelerating they are removed from this, our dimension. Curious. The reason I mentioned this is I saw another 2-foot one, 2-foot wide one the other day, and I remember trying to catch one in a plastic bag, plastic food container years ago. Put it over it on the wall and it went bonkers. It went literally bonkers. It started tap dancing as if it was Fred Astaire and the Busby Berkeley Babes, 1930s films. Look it up. And it's bonkers, and it's driving me mad. I just wanted to squeal. As I say, I squeal with spiders. Big ones, small ones I can cope with, but the big buggers, no. And I put plastic thing over the top of it, went outside, and I threw it. And I watched it land, and I saw the spider, and the bugger started running back for the house. I swear to you, it ran back for the house. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to share that one as being the adventures of a person who tends to squeal when he sees spiders. For me, we have an identity, alleged identity up here in the north of Wales. I know you can't see it on my hand, but there is a crease, and that crease is a sign of Viking heritage. My mum had it, my grandfather had it, I know friends I used to work with unexpectedly have it. So we've got that Viking heritage, which we don't investigate, perfectly honest with you. But Anglesey was once the land of the Druids. It was the Quartier General. It was the HQ of British Druidry, and I think going back to about 2,000 years, and then go back another 2,000 years before that. So let's talk about that one just for a bit, and again, not moving too far away from identity. Okay, give me a moment, I need to put my glasses on. Once upon a time, Anglesey would have been covered in trees. Go back a couple of thousand years, 3,000, 4,000 years, it would have been covered in trees. It was renowned for it. And as it came forward in time towards the 10th century, 11th, 12th, 13th century, then it became the breadbasket of Wales. Then politically in the 80s, I think it became the basket case of Wales. Such were the dirty dealings in local politics around here, you know. Anyway, go back to 2,000 years plus, let's say about 2,000 years roughly. Anglesey was hated by the Emperor Nero. I think it should be also recorded that people of Anglesey didn't really like him either. Nero was psychotic, narcissistic, and just a child, used to having his own way. If you look a couple of thousand miles to the west of here, I'm sure we find something similar there now. But he decided that Anglesey had to be destroyed. The people on it, not the Vikings, the Druids had to be destroyed. Druidry had to be destroyed, and beg your pardon, Anglesey is named Mona, allegedly, by him. He's the one who named the island Mona. And there is a part in the centre of the island which is called Mona. It's an aerodrome as well. And in Welsh now it's called Ynys Môn, island of Anglesey, island of Mona. So he set one of his greatest generals, Suetonius Paulinus, I'm trying to remember, AD 66, something like this, to go across and beat the living daylights out of the Druids. Now the Druids had a reputation for being full of magic and human sacrifices and wicker men and, you know, black magic, all manner of things. There is no history, there is no recorded history at all about what they did. There is evidence that they may well have been incredible astronomers, but there is no evidence directly tying them to that. Brinkelly is one site, it's a burial chamber, but also when you investigate inside, it has an astronomical purpose. And people visit it regularly. And it's where people, Midsummer's Day, here they have, has just been gone past for 3-4 days ago. And let me just get into some more light here so you can see me melting even more. So they hold ceremonies. And I think the idea generally with people who go there is hoping to see naked people. I'm convinced of that. And there is a ceremony, sun goes down, and if there's no naked people dancing, there aren't. I suppose you bring a flask and a sandwich to keep yourself occupied till the sun comes up. Strange things happened. I haven't got a clue. This may well have been what the Druids were doing over the past, from 2,000 years before this, for about 2 or 3 before that. And Suetonians had to destroy them, had to get across Anglesey and conquer them. And with the Roman army being what it is, but being what it was, you know, just one of the greatest armies ever. But it was made up of people of so many cultures. You know, they were given the opportunity, I think, not to be killed and to join the army, travel to different places, meet interesting people and kill them, which they did with incredible efficiency. They were like an unstoppable force moving across the map. Why on earth they came to this damp end on the west of Europe, I don't know. They seemed to stop at Hadrian's Wall because going any further must have been very depressing, you know, the thought of it. And anyway, men used to dress up, well, they'd actually undressed and painted themselves in blue, a thing called woad, and they couldn't care less, they just went berserk. And I suppose it was easier to set up a wall than fight people who were generally bonkers and just didn't care if they were injured or killed. Anglesey, a bit different, I suppose. It was on the west coast. It was between England and Ireland. And Druidism is something that worried Nero. I can't imagine there being anything intelligent behind it, especially with somebody who's narcissistic, paranoid, and as I say, wantonly childlike. Anyway, order went out, and Suetonius Paulinus had a problem immediately, which was his men didn't want to go near it because they had created, coming from so many different cultures, they would have different gods. I suppose the army incorporates, you bring your god with you, as long as you bring your sword and fight, you know, you bring your own god with you, you're alright, Bob's your uncle, he might be a god. Let's have a look. A cow. Can you see the cow? There's a cow there somewhere. It's so bright. Hello. So he was in Carnarvon, in Carnarvonshire, that way, and in a fortress, Roman fortress called Saguntium. Still exists as, you know, its shape on the floor. Archaeologists have dug it up, and the history is generally known because Romans were everywhere, so they behaved collectively the same wherever they went. But they didn't want to attack Anglesey. They declined invitation, not really, don't fancy it. You attacked the enemy, as in the Romans were to attack Anglesey across the Menai Straits, and to encourage him to march forward, you probably had people with pointy sticks behind them, saying, you're not turning around, we're not having that. With the Roman army, everybody's scared of us. So Suetonius Paulinus decided that he would go across on rafts with horses and attack anybody on the beach. They hadn't reckoned with Anglesey women. Anglesey women, wild hair, going crazy, makeup, flames, torches, and they just tormented and scared the bejesus out of the Roman army. And I think it really was a pointy stick kind of assisted attack. They landed, and the thing is, once you make contact, it doesn't matter if you're contacting the women, you were contacting the Druids or their warriors, he realised immediately that they were human, and then he thought, hang on, I'm a Roman soldier, what the hell am I scared of? And that was it. It was conquered by Suetonius Paulinus. He was then sent by Nero, who then decided he didn't like Boudica. Boadicea we call it. Someone coming? Hang on. That was my neighbour. So he was sent away to, because he was a good general, to defeat, can he move? No. He was then sent away, sent away to beat Boudica, Byddug in Welsh, Boadicea in Romantic text, and which they did. And if you've got enough soldiers, you can defeat anything. And then he was called back to Anglesey because whoever had been there keeping charge of the Druids, and they said, yeah, no worries, we'll keep the peace, we don't want another fight. What they did was they took control, the Roman army were booted out again, Suetonius Paulinus came back, and that was the end of it for the Druids. And there's a politics of this. I think the only mention of this generally is, it might be in folklore, but in writing, the only writing is with Tacitus, Roman writer, who created this image. Anyway, brother, neighbour. Yeah, Tacitus, the only one, and he wrote this creation of the Druids being giants, being monstrous, being magical, being deadly, being the worst enemy ever. But the Romans have kicked the crap out of them and defeated them. So it was all politics, it was all propaganda. So there is no, even though that's written, it's obvious propaganda. There is no history at all about the Anglesey Druids. And yet people celebrate New Year's Day, not New Year's, probably, I haven't got a clue, equinoxes and such, as Druids. They dress up as Druids. Imagine, probably more like Getafix from Asterix than anything else. And they celebrate it. Let's just say there is no written history. The only probably reported writing about them is by Tacitus, who made it up because he was a propagandist for the Roman Empire, and everybody wants to keep wanted to keep Nero happy, because if Nero was unhappy about you, you know, you were in trouble, you were dead basically. So Suetonius Paulinus, after all of that, at the end of the reign of Nero, was called back by friends, by colleagues, and come back to Rome. He said, we will make you the emperor. He went back to Rome. He literally crossed, what did he call, what was that river called? Crossed the Rubicon, literally crossed the Rubicon like Julius Caesar had done previously, River Rubicon. And sadly he was killed. So a great general who was one of the Roman Empire's most successful and greatest generals was just killed off because somebody else had more people than him, and they had more pointy knives probably. So that's it. He died. Great general. Beat the Druids in his own head before persuading his own people to get into battle. Once you make contact, you will realise that they are humans. Very smart bloke. And that's what happened. In the Victorian period, as I said, there's nothing written. There's archaeology, and it's quite significant. If you go to, I don't know, the Hebrides, and you go to Stonehenge, and the evidence is all there, and it's incredibly scientific. And this is where, oh God, please save me from Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock. They will come up with some theory, Scooby-Doo theory. It's entertaining to begin with, then you keep hearing it, and then it becomes boring, and it becomes fabricated, and you think, who's smoking what? Yeah, so William Stuxley, a romantic, very fey, I imagine, Victorian, created this history, made it up about the Romans, and I think that's what won most people adhere to today. And the fact that a Roman emperor named this island because of his terror of Druids. So now there is no identity known of them. So identity now is that of a silly Victorian and people making up bollocks, and probably people turning up, probably wanting to see people dance around naked, maybe join in. But generally I think they bring a flask of tea and a picnic, and they spend the time between sun going down and sun coming up. It must be something as daft as that, but none of it exists. So an identity has been placed on them which has become strong or stronger. Here, Bryn Celli Ddu, which is a burial chamber south of the island, and in Stonehenge. You got Uta Pendragon and stuff involved. He's an Arthurian character. I mean, then again, as I say, people have aspirations and hopes, and people want to do wibbly wobbly things, and I've got nothing against that. You know, don't scare the horses and such. So the Druids have a reputation now that they didn't have, because they're probably quite monstrous, because they'll be scaring people. They'll be chasers with demons and dragons and such, which is all religious groups do as leadership, in the leadership of people. So most people living around them would have lived in a state of terror, except occasionally you give them nice things to do and give them presents, and occasionally kill a few of them. Nothing is known about them, yet they have a very strong identity in the island. Hang on, let's see if we can get the cats. The cat's over there. Is that a cat? I haven't got my glasses on. No, that is not. Definitely not a cat. Anyway, there we are. Just entertainment. Keep you distracted while the world goes to hell in a handcart somewhere, not far away from here. And the World Cup is on. I've got a clue who's doing what to who. I don't really care. It was a time I was great fan as a kid of football, but then it went commercial, and I think, don't they have both channels or 3 channels all watching the same game, at the same time? What the hell do you have to do to make it entertaining? Years ago it was just a football, now we've got to fill in the blanks. Wonder who that is now. That's a cat. Anyway, it's me moaning again. So, you take care. Be well. Listen to the insects who are thriving. Autumn will come, winter will come. Autumn comes next week, I think. The temperature drops to about 16. Today's about 40. I wish you so much good fortune and wellness, and even though this is probably very hot for you, you know, do your best to enjoy it, because it will pass so quickly and you will long for it for the rest of the year. Take care.